At JBN, we keep you informed. I'm Michelle Jones. Before we get into the news, please remember to like, subscribe, leave a comment, and share the news with someone today. Now on to the news. Woman and elderly man killed in Manchester gun attack. 2 people were shot dead and a man injured in Bigwood district in Craighead on Saturday night, sending shockwaves in the northeast Manchester farming community. Police identified the deceased as 39-year-old Tanisha Burton, otherwise called Browning, and the 74-year-old Wilford Mallison, otherwise called Danny. Both were residents of Bigwood district. Police said at about 10 p.m., residents reported hearing loud explosions in the area. When police arrived at a shop in the area, 3 people were found suffering from what appeared to be gunshot wounds. They were taken to hospital, where Mallison and Burton were pronounced dead. The injured man, who was shot in the back and collapsed after running, was admitted for treatment. Police theorized that Burton may have been the intended target of the incident. The incident has left the community in a state of shock. Henry, a resident of Bigwood, said he knew both victims.
Oh man, me shock out. Nervous this morning when me hear what go on. Can't believe. I never see nothing like this here yet. What people me know in the district? Know them in the district. Yeah man, we know them in the district and Browning got market together and things. Oh man, me know for the whole of we are market people. Yeah. See man here, me know me also for me a little boy. Yeah. So me never know any golfing or nothing yet. Me never hear them and there nobody have no problem, no quarrel, no cussing, nothing yet. You understand? The man here so a big man, man. Big man. A nice fat girl, me no know, me can't tell you yet. Yeah, but I know old somebody. You understand? Young, nice young woman.
50-year-old man shot and killed in St. Catherine. The St. Catherine South Police have launched an investigation into the shooting death of a 50-year-old resident of Bannister District near Old Harbour. The deceased has been identified as O'Neill Bailey of Pointy Heights, Bannister Housing Scheme, St. Catherine. It is reported that at about 9:30 p.m. Friday, explosions were heard and Bailey was found dead with what appeared to be gunshot wounds. The police responded and the scene was processed and the body removed. Bailey's murder followed that of 26-year-old labourer Anthony Taylor, who was shot and killed by unknown assailants in Sakuba Gardens, Old Harbour, St. Catherine, about 2:30 a.m. Friday. Detectives from the Old Harbour Criminal Investigation Branch are probing both matters. Man fatally stabbed in Ocho-Rios. The police in Ocho-Rios, St. Anne, are probing the fatal stabbing of a man in the town on Friday evening. The deceased has been identified as 30-year-old Otis Henry, otherwise called Tissy, of Main Street, Pineapple Place, Ocho-Rios. Henry was reportedly attacked and stabbed along Market Street, Ocho-Rios, about 7 p.m. He later succumbed to his injuries. National cleanup campaign to help restore stability following burial. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says several agencies in his administration have started a massive cleanup and recovery program following the devastation caused by Hurricane Beryl last week. Speaking on Saturday while in a tour of the Rocky Point fishing village in Clarendon, the Prime Minister said the national cleanup campaign announced by his government aims to restore stability to a number of communities badly affected by the hurricane.
It will have 2 elements to it. One element is the debushing and the carting away of debris, and another element is the cleaning and desilting of drains. So we're trying to do a very comprehensive recovery. We're trying to ensure that the relief is given to persons to have their homes restored, but equally important is to have their livelihood restored. So we're trying to do that as well. And of equal importance, again, is to make sure that the environment in which they live and the civil infrastructure that supports that environment is in a condition that would allow both their livelihoods and their lives to continue.
Members of the Jamaica Defence Force JDF were deployed to the Rocky Point community on Saturday to assist in the recovery exercise. Meanwhile, Labour and the Social Security Minister, Colonel Charles Jr., said the government has intensified its relief program for needy families affected by the hurricane.
The social workers have been out every day taking assessments, which include us also providing support in terms of mattresses, food packages, tarpaulins, and other items to the those residents that have been impacted. We also focus our attention on the shelters where JDF gives us support in terms of safety there to ensure that particularly shelters like Rocky Point that is still active and evolving in terms of persons we find going back to the shelters for one reason or the other, that those shelters are safe spaces for us to be able to provide the service to the residents. There's a lot more to be done here. We're moving into areas like Gimemebit, Racecourse, and areas in southwest Clarendon and along the south coast. And so the Ministry of Labour is working not just with and across government, but with the NGOs, Food for the Poor, Red Cross and others, to see that we can do the assessments and provide the support in as timely a manner as possible.
Woman awarded over $100 million in damages after surgery at Conway Regional Hospital left her paralyzed, one of the highest Supreme Court awards for medical negligence, in the sum of more than $100 million with interest, has been awarded to a 49-year-old woman who is now paralyzed after undergoing a spinal decompression surgery at the Conway Regional Hospital in St. James in October 2015. Justice Maxine Jackson last week ordered the defendants, the Western Regional Health Authority, operator of the hospital, and the Attorney General of Jamaica to compensate the claimant, Nicole Ann Fullerton Clark. For general damages, the claimant was awarded $70 million for pain and suffering, $8.6 million for future home care, $5.2 million for future loss of income, $1.8 million for future medication, $2.9 million for daily living, diapers and gloves, $720,000 for future doctor visits and physiotherapy, $360,000 for future transportation, and $23,353 for a motorized wheelchair. She was awarded special damages of $6.1 million for loss of income, $1.9 million for extra help, home care, $627,294 for medical expenses, and $120,000 for transportation. The claimant was represented by attorney at law Catherine Minto, who was previously instructed by Nunes, Schofield, Dillon and Company, had sued the health authority and the government. The claimant, who is now bedridden, had stated that the hospital owed a duty of care to her in relation to the treatment provided. Thug Fashion's Guyanese girlfriend freed of gun and ammo charges. Attorney at law Rita Allen Brown is celebrating a recent victory in a Supreme Court case in which her Guyanese client, Akeisha Pigot, was freed of gun charges stemming from an August 2023 incident in which her boyfriend, Orin Thug Fashion Wright, was shot dead by the police. The Guyanese was found not guilty on June 28. The trial began on May 8. Pigot, who was traveling with Wright in a motor vehicle at the time of the incident, also sustained gunshot wounds. The shooting took place on Knightsdale Drive in St. Andrew. On August 17, 2023, my client was a passenger traveling in a Markex motor vehicle, of which Wright was the driver. On reaching Knightsdale Drive, the same Markex was intercepted by police from the Counter-Terrorism and Organized Crime Division. Explosions were heard, and my client, along with Mr. Wright, were found suffering from gunshot injuries. My client was taken to the Kingston Public Hospital where she was admitted, while Mr. Wright died from his injuries, Pigot's attorney said. The police told the court that later that day, they obtained a search warrant to search my client's apartment and allegedly found a gun along with ammunition. My client was subsequently charged with possession of a prohibited weapon and unauthorized possession of ammunition. It must be noted, however, that at the time the police allegedly carried out the search, neither my client nor any other occupant of the apartment were there. There were no independent witnesses, and there was no one representing my client to witness the search, the attorney continued. Allen Brown pointed out that the court found that the main issues for adjudication was whether prosecution witnesses were being truthful and whether the circumstantial evidence pointed solely to my client's guilt. The court found that circumstantial evidence adduced by the prosecution does not point solely to my client having knowledge, custody, and control of the firearm allegedly found in the apartment. The court therefore felt that the elements of possession had not been made out and that the prosecution failed to discharge its burden. As a result, my client was found not guilty, said Allen Brown. At the same time, the court found that the entry and search of Pigot's apartment in her absence was not illegal, though it was irregular. I found the trial of this matter to be a remarkable one. We are happy that the matter has come to an end, and my client can now go back to living her normal life, Allen Brown said. Reputed King Valley gang leader and the sidekick convicted for conspiring to murder Crown witness. Alleged leader of the Westmoreland-based King Valley gang, Derval Williams, otherwise called Lukey, and his sidekick Kristen Grant were on Friday found guilty of conspiring via cell phones to murder a crown witness while behind bars at the Horizon Adult Remand Center in 2020, the same year they were let off on anti-gang charges. Williams and Grant are among 3 former King Valley gang accused who had remained behind bars in relation to other crimes after being freed by Chief Justice Brian Sykes in July 2020 when that gang trial collapsed. But, according to evidence led by the Crown, a mere month before the Chief Justice's shock ruling, June 2020 to be specific, correctional officers during searches of the cells occupied by Williams and Grant discovered cell phones which the men claimed belonged to them. The phone claimed by Williams was discovered in the ventilation area at the back of the cell, while the handset claimed by Grant was found in the groove beneath a 5-gallon water bottle held in place by a bar of soap. The men were charged under a 4-count indictment with 1 count each of conspiring to murder and concealment of a prohibited article, 2 cell phones. A digital forensic expert brought by the prosecution in April when the case began outlined evidence to prove that the confiscated phones truly belonged to the men. In one of several voice notes played into the records of the tribunal, a voice identified by 2 Crown witnesses as belonging to Williams was heard saying he had received intelligence that a particular top-flight female investigator had visited the targeted witness on 3 occasions and that was supposedly trying to show up evidence against them after losing the first case. On Friday, Supreme Court Judge Justice Caroline Ty Powell, in her summation and verdict, set aside arguments by the defense that the voice notes were disjointed and not sequential and were not sufficient to prove that the men conspired to murder the witness or anyone else for that matter. I found the evidence of the correctional officer to be credible. The court finds that the content on the phone support the finding that it belongs to Williams, Justice Ty Powell said. She also said the court accepted the evidence that there was communication between Williams and Grant on their respective phones by way of text messages and WhatsApp voice notes. She said while aspects of the evidence suggest that other inmates also used the phones, the significant use of the handsets were by the 2 men. She said the phone owned by Grant had WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, and an email account in his name and his alias Bobby. In ruling on count 1 of the indictment, which jointly charged the men with conspiring to murder the Westmoreland woman, Justice Ty Powell said she accepted as credible the voice identification evidence given by Deputy Superintendent of Police, who had encountered both men on several occasions, and the Crown witness they had marked for death, who testified that she has known Grant all his life. Justice Ty Powell said the court, in considering the voice notes which were not in standard English and which contained unique Jamaican terminologies, was of the opinion that they are statements made to infer the killing of someone. It is clear to the court that diabolical statements are contained in the voice notes. It is clear there was communication between Derval Williams and Kristen Grant. In one of the 10 voice notes with the assassination plan, which were played into the records of the court, Grant was heard saying if Williams wanted to dirt, slang for murder the witness, you should. Let me know what you want. Anything you pray, just let me know so I can organize the thing. You know the thing. Element of surprise. Several notes later, a voice identified by prosecution witnesses as belonging to Williams is heard saying, "Me I go dirt her, man. Me I go dirt her for real, man. Me I go do it. Me I go do it." Grant was then heard spurring on Williams by saying, "One man we use 1 stone and kill 2 birds. But I just want you to do so and just slap 1, 2, 3 one time and left the whole place sweeping and mourning." Said Justice Ty Powell, "It is my opinion that Kristen Grant is agreeing with Derval Williams. It is clear that Grant understood what Williams is talking about. It is significant that he refers to we. This suggests they're acting together. He is suggesting that there must be loss, there must be death. He is suggesting that action must be taken quick and fast, as he emphasized that the situation is serious and needs to be dealt with openly," said the judge. According to the evidence, Grant had gone as far as to tell Williams that he would find out the work schedule of the witness in order to organize her death, as the COVID-19 pandemic had made it so that everybody there at them yard. This is where the intention was. This is where Derval Williams indicates his intention to be party to the murder, the death of the individuals, the judge stated. In noting the evidence of the witness, who had mentioned her sister and her mother by name, Justice Ty Powell said mention by the men of those same names was an indication that they intended to kill not only the witness but her family members as well, given the reference by Grant to killing 3 birds with 1 stone and leaving the place weeping and mourning. The inference from the word sister go left is that something needs to be done to eliminate the Crown witness, and there's an expressed concern about her sister remaining behind, added the judge. Grant, in another voice note, was heard saying, "Yeah, dog, remember them woman the terrible. A whole heap of people them woman the turn down. Me now make them something I catch me, just a clean up. When you clean up something, you clean up and done." According to the judge, He's saying there must be no room for retaliation from anyone. It is clear from these last voice notes that Kristen Grant is saying not only Crown witness should be eliminated, but others as well. She also said it was clear that the men were confident about their ability to remain in contact with the outside world despite being behind bars. The court finds as a fact that a forensic examination of the cell phones revealed various voice notes. These were voices of the accused, that these voice notes revealed that there were discussions between Derval Williams and Kristen Grant to do an illegal act. I find that the coroner's proved to be unreasonable doubt that the accused persons conspired with each other and did indeed propose to murder the Crown witness. I therefore enter a verdict of guilty on counts 1, 3, and 4 of the indictment. Justice Di Poyle ruled on Friday. Williams and Grant, who sat side by side in the prisoner's dock, listened expressionlessly, at one point adopting identical poses by sitting forward attentively, their forearms braced on their legs. The men gave no reaction to the guilty verdict, but for an almost imperceptible smile that tugged at the lips of Williams after he was cuffed and led from the dock. The sentencing for the men was set for the next court term, which begins in September. Social inquiry report and antecedent report were ordered for both. JBN, we keep you informed. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, leave us a comment, and click the notification bell to receive our daily news items.